Parmigiani Fleurier's classic Tonda was designed by the brand's namesake, Michel Parmigiani. And after the arrival of Guido Terreni as the CEO of the independent watch brand, the classic Tonda went through a rather tasteful facelift. The result is the already very successful Tonda PF. From a style perspective, the Tonda PF oozes subtle, understated luxury, and the watches are refined and elegant. And maybe you remember that besides the classic Tonda there was another collection, sportier and with a bit more wrist presence. That was the TONDA GT line, and this line also has been refreshed and infused with TONDA PF design codes. We're meeting with Guido Terreni to discover the new TONDA Sport. Well, Guido, thanks for taking the time to talk with us and to explain this new collection. Following your appointment with Parmigiani Fleurier, you revamped the classic Tonda into the Tonda PF, which is quite the hit, to be honest. And now you're touching upon the Tonda GT line. Can you tell us a bit more about the idea behind this launch?
Well, the Tonda PF has been immediately the backbone of our brand since its arrival on the market 1.5 years ago. It seems much more, but it's only 18 months. Its success is linked to its clarity in the style, of very much elegance, this minimal aesthetic but very richly crafted. No? So you have this minimal rich style which is very appealing to today's client that is following the brand. The Tonda GT was, if you want, the predecessor of the Tonda PF. And it needed, in my opinion, to be evolved into a consistency with the Tonda PF codes. So if you want, it's the sportier version of the Tonda PF. That's why we will call it the Tonda PF Sport. Because the consistency of the style is done by certain elements that are very clear. First of all, we needed to place the PF logo also on the sportier version of the PF, and having a big date as a movement, we had to change the movement because it was impossible to put it there. And then there were certain aspects of the collection that needed to be upgraded into the mood of the brand today, and namely the construction of the dial and also the rubber strap and the buckle and certain finesses on the case. So the result is a weekend watch for a Parmigiani customer.
What has been the direction for the design of this new Tonda PF Sport?
Well, being the fact that it's more used in outdoor environments, more thought to be used in an environment which is more in a leisure. No, it's not a technical sport environment. Don't think about professional sport watches with tachometric scales or diving bezels. This is not in the style of Parmigiani Fleurier. It's a very elegant sport watch for a leisure time in your free time and how you want to enjoy your time. But the level of exigence has to be at the highest level because Parmigiani clients wants that. So if you look at the design direction that we gave to the collection, first of all, the consistency between PF and PF Sport has to be there. But there are nuances. So at a case level, for instance, you are looking at a case which is with certain codes like the bezel, which is fluted, but with rays that are less numbers of rays than the PF. The PF has 225 rays. The PF Sport has only 160. What does this give you? It gives you a little bit of a bolder feeling of the
bezel is a bit more pronounced.
Yes, without being too different, but it's a nuance. The crown is also a little bit sportier, so a little bit bigger.
And it's a screw-down crown.
It's a screw-down crown, always 100 meters. So the case has become slightly bolder without being tacky, without being keeping the elegance of the brand.
Very elegant.
Then the dial. The dial is in the same construction of the PF. So you have the logo at the center at 12 o'clock. So new movements. So the movement is the chronograph 5 Hertz that we have on the PF. So we brought it also to the PF Sport in steel. Then you have the hour, minute and second, which is a double barrel time only watch without the big date. The date is at 6 o'clock consistently with the micro rotor of the PF. And you have a second at the center. This is a way of showing the time that is a little bit more sportier than without having the second. but it's even a little bit more sportier than having a petite seconde, because a petite seconde is giving you a more classic mood and not a sport mood. So then the color of the dial has to be white, and we kept the panda look of the GT, which is very playful, very fun, very nice. The indexes kept the black superluminova that you have on the GT, so that sporty look that the GT has is kept, but it's consistent with the collection. And then last but definitely not least, we changed the rubber strap. And the rubber strap to me is something very important to the mood, the feeling of the watch. We have created a rubber strap which is done like the luxury straps that you have on your watches in Alligator. So it's 3 parts of rubber that are sewed together and consistently attached with an insert that goes into the case. You can swim with it, but you have the feeling of a very rich and noble rubber, which is very rare in the industry, because usually rubber straps are just a mold that you inject the rubber in, and it's quite cheap as a technique. Here we try to keep this flavor of sophistication without being too bold. It's really something very discreet, but very useful for this mood, which is a leisure weekend watch with a PF buckle that closes it. And we took out the platinum in the steel version because the PF has a platinum bezel on the PF, but being a sportier watch, the platinum is not suited for this kind of usage.
So you decided to immediately launch not just one model, but I see 4 models here in front of me. Can you tell us the different options, different movements, different
Well, the collection starts with the hour, minute, second and date, which is a 41 millimeter case. So it's 1 millimeter less than the GT and 1 more than the micro rotor. It has a bolder size because the double barrel with the oscillating mass, by the way, has been designed for a sportier look. So it's inspired by a driving wheel of a GT car of the 60s. So it doesn't have the sapphire with the PF logo that is for the PF, classic PF, the original PF. So it's every element of the watch has these nuances of a little bit more dynamism in what you want to put. With this very beautiful silver dial, which is extremely clean. We kept the triangular of the GT, but we reduced it in size to not be invasive to the eye when you read the time. So everything is more balanced if you want in the aesthetic. And then it comes also in gold, because we had to couple it now with a gold version, which is extremely elegant in my opinion, and very suited for a holiday at the sea or wherever you want to have it. And then you go up to the chronograph. We are very proud of our chronograph movement, which is a 5 hertz chronograph. So it measures the 10th of a second. Column wheel, a vertical clutch. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful chronographs in the industry, in my opinion. So we put it across the whole collection, steel and gold. Taking out the big date and just keeping the date at 4 o'clock as a reference, always in black, because we have the black superluminova on the hands, on the indexes, and we kept this panda look, this black dial counters, which are slightly bigger, because we took out the complexity of the Reo, the Azure between the Reo and then the Clou de Paris of the previous version. There were 3 layers in the dial that, in my opinion, were a little bit too complicated in terms of expressing an aesthetic. The beautiful watch, it's the predecessor of this one. Without the GT, this would have been born. So we have to praise the GT for being born in 2020. And now the collection is complete, because you have the TONDA PF with all its hierological content, the guilloche, but done by hand, the movements with the micro rotor, the chronograph, the skeleton, the GMT rattrapante, everything is in the technical side there. And then you have its sportier version, which is for a more leisure usage and to have fun during the weekends or holidays.
Guido, thanks. Looks like a very nice new collection. Thank you so much for taking the time, and see you next time.
Thank you, Frank.